Former President Donald Trump has been removed from the ballot of the U.S. state of Illinois. A Trump's campaign spokesperson has described the ruling as being unconstitutional while adding that they will appeal against the ruling as soon as possible. The latest ruling adds to the list of allegations that the Republican frontrunner is facing for overturning the 2020 presidential election. The judge cites Section 3 of the 14th Amendment while removing Trump. It bars public office for anyone who took an oath to support the U.S. Constitution and then has engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. Many legal analysts say Section 3 does not pertain to the president, notably while they are in office. Meanwhile, the U.S. Supreme Court has agreed to hear Trump's claim of immunity from criminal prosecution. The U.S. top court has scheduled the date of the argument during the week of April 22nd, while adding that Trump's trial on the same charges will remain on hold for now. Earlier, Trump was scheduled to go on trial for election interference on March 4th. The former president has hailed the Supreme Court's decision in a post on his social media platform, Truth Social. Trump said that the president must be free to make proper decisions. The Supreme Court says the arguments will aim to address a single question, and that is whether, and if so, to what extent does a former president enjoy presidential immunity from criminal prosecution for conduct alleged to involve official acts during his tenure in office. Earlier, a three-judge appeals court bench ruled that Trump has no immunity from prosecution as a former president. The bench held that Trump's immunity claim is unsupported by precedent, history, or the text and structure of the Constitution. The ruling was a major legal setback for Trump. The election conspiracy case against Trump was filed by special counsel Jack Smith back in August. The counsel has been pushing for the March start date for his trial. On the other hand, Trump's lawyers have repeatedly tried to delay the trial until after the November election, as there is a chance that Trump could drop all the federal charges against himself if he was to win the 2024 presidential race. Trump is the first former president to be criminally prosecuted. At the same time, the case once again puts the U.S. top judicial body in a critical situation, as the 6-3 conservative majority includes 3 justices appointed by Donald Trump. The Supreme Court is also due to issue a ruling on whether to overturn a judicial decision from Colorado's Supreme Court that bars Trump from the state's Republican primary ballot. All right, a lot to discuss, and for more on this, we are being joined by Mark Merowitz from New York City. Mark is a professor at State University of New York Maritime College. He's also a lawyer. Mark, great to see you. What are the potential implications of the Supreme Court's decision to hear Trump's claim of immunity from criminal prosecution, and how might it impact the ongoing election conspiracy case against him?
Well, let's face it, these are all connected. And in particular, the ballot case that you talked about in Illinois, the latest one, in Colorado, in Maine, the Secretary of State. The Supreme Court is definitely going to put the kibosh and stop that, because you cannot stop people from being on the ballot. At the same time, the immunity case, most likely the court will not agree with President Trump's claim that he's immune. I mean, let's be real here. You know how many cases there are against Trump? I mean, I made a list. Stormy Daniels hush money, the Jack Smith case you mentioned, the ballot case, defamation case, the rape case, the tax and real estate case, you name it. I mean, it's a torrent. It's just a flood of cases, and they're just coming like a tsunami. But it seems, at least maybe from Trump's perspective, is his paranoia real, that they're actually trying to keep him off the ballot and stop him from running for president in 2024? It doesn't seem like a crazy point, because these cases are just they're really, many of them are off the wall, honestly, if you read them. In this case on Trump, his argument about immunity, there's no way that's going to prevail. No way.
Mark, what about the Supreme Court's ruling on Trump's removal from the ballot? How might that impact his presidential campaign? We talked about Illinois and other states, and what could be the broader consequences, for example, for the Republican Party and the electoral process as a whole?
Look, the Colorado ballot case, the 14th Amendment was never in, and if the purpose of it had nothing to do with what the Colorado Supreme Court
Yeah.
says it relates to. The 14th Amendment was about Confederates who fought in the Civil War. It is enforced by Congress. It doesn't mention the president. It requires someone to engage in insurrection. Trump has never been charged or even indicted for insurrection. And on and on. And it talks about an officer. It doesn't mention the president. And also, it talks about holding office, not running for office. There are more holes in this case than a Swiss cheese, honestly. And if you look through it and think about it a bit, you realize that what you're going to end up with here is a political decision from the Supreme Court. And why is that? Because Chief Justice Roberts is concerned that the Supreme Court, which has, as you said, a 6-3 conservative majority, is going to lose its credibility if all it does is back up Trump's claim. So while clearly they need to stop this idea that we woke up in the morning and now Illinois has a case where they're throwing him off the ballot, and maybe tomorrow some other state will throw him off the ballot, that will cause so much chaos in our presidential election system that we won't be able to hold an election. So they're going to stop that. At the same time, the thing about immunity, his point is, well, official acts while I'm president are immune. Now, is that true or not? Is there basis in the Constitution? His point is, well, if you want to do something to a president and kick them out, you've got to impeach them and convict him. And he says, you already impeached me twice and didn't convict me. And now you want to come after me for what I say are official acts, in the sense that Trump argues that what he did on January 6th was purposed to deal with election fraud. And he was president, sitting president. So you can imagine that if the Supreme Court said that presidents were immune, and even the Circuit Court was talking about kinds of crazy examples, sending Navy SEALs to commit, crimes and things like that. Can you imagine the implications of that? So the Supreme Court is holding on to its reputation here, and it needs to make decisions that are going to be accepted by the population of the United States as credible and fair and appropriate. So ballot case, that one, they've got to stop that.
The American peoples are watching. Yeah.
And at the same time, the
Mark
immunity
Merowitz, thank you so much for all of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
No, I was going to say that
we'll talk soon.
Immunity
Thanks.
case, okay, thank you very much. Thank you.